The knock came at 6:17 a.m., sharp and final, as if the door itself already knew it would not be opened again by the same hands. I stood still in the kitchen, barefoot on cold tile, the kettle half filled with water that had not yet learned it would never boil. That was when I knew I had lived in that apartment for 4 years, same unit, same cracked step at the entrance. Her name was Melissa. She had smiled at me the first week I moved in, complimented my shoes, asked where I was from. I had set it for 6:30, just enough time to wash my face, boil water for tea, and pretend I was still in control of my life. Not urgent, not frantic, official. A voice followed the knock. Sir, open the door. There was no accent I could place, no anger, just certainty. That was when I knew. The certainty in that voice left no room for denial. I felt a chill in the air, realizing that whatever awaited me beyond that door would change everything. 4 years in this apartment, memories etched into the walls, all flashing before my eyes as I hesitated. The knock echoed in my mind, a haunting reminder that nothing was ever truly in my control. Nigeria, I said. Oh, she replied, smiling wider. That's far. After that, her kindness came in waves, too sweet, then suddenly gone. She asked questions that sounded casual but landed heavy. How long are you staying? Do you work nights or days? Do you live alone? I answered politely. Carefully, the way immigrants learn to speak long before they learn the law. The third knock rattled the door. I opened it. 2 men stood in the hallway, navy jackets, badges clipped like punctuation marks to their chests. Behind them, just behind, leaning slightly into her doorway, Melissa watched. She was already dressed, hair done, coffee mug in hand. She did not look surprised. Sir, one of the men said, I'm with U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. We need to speak with you. My throat closed before my mouth did. Is something wrong? I asked. He looked down at a tablet, then back at me. Can you step outside, please? Melissa took a sip of her coffee. Inside the hallway, everything echoed, my breathing, my heartbeat, the faint hum of the building's ancient lights. Do you have identification on you? The second agent asked. I reached slowly for my wallet. Any immigration documents? I hesitated. That hesitation was enough. At the kitchen table, they sat across from me like men reviewing paperwork for a loan I would never qualify for. Your visa expired 18 months ago, the first agent said. I applied for an extension, I replied. I'm waiting for... He nodded, already finished listening. We also received a report. A report? I asked. Yes, from a resident in this building. I looked toward the door. I could see Melissa's feet in the hallway. She had moved closer, curious, invested. What did the report say? I asked. That you're working without authorization, he replied, and that you've been using a false address. That's not true, I said. The second agent finally looked up. Sir, he said, this isn't a debate. They allowed me to pack one bag, one. I stood in my bedroom, staring at a life reduced to choices no one should make in under 10 minutes. Photos stayed, clothes went, books stayed, letters stayed. My mother's Bible, creased, heavy with handwritten prayers, went into the bag last. When I walked out, Melissa stood in the hallway. She met my eyes. I was just worried, she said softly. You know, these days, I nodded, because even then, handcuffed, shrinking, already halfway erased, I understood something brutal and clear. She did not think she was cruel. She thought she was correct. The detention center smelled like disinfectant and fear layered so thick you could taste it. They took my belt, my shoelaces, my phone. Time stopped meaning anything. Days blurred into interviews, numbers, waiting rooms filled with men who spoke too quietly, as if volume itself could get you deported faster. One night, lying on a thin mat, I stared at the ceiling and tried to remember the last moment I felt safe. It was not America. It was not Nigeria. It was somewhere in between, an idea I had mistaken for a place. One night, lying on a thin mat, I stared at the ceiling and tried to remember the last moment I felt safe. It was not America. It was not Nigeria. It was somewhere in between, an idea I had mistaken for a place. When they told me I was being removed, they used the word gently, removed, as if I were clutter, as if I had never belonged anywhere to begin with. The plane was cold, the seat narrow, my wrists free but heavier than chains. As the aircraft lifted, I pressed my forehead to the window and watched the city shrink into lights, then patterns, then nothing. No one looked back for me. Not the building, not the street, not Melissa. When we landed in Nigeria, the heat wrapped around me like a memory I wasn't sure I deserved anymore. The air smelled of dust, fuel, and something alive. I stepped onto the tarmac with a single bag and a name that suddenly felt foreign in my own mouth. I had not returned home. I had arrived somewhere new, Somewhere I would have to rebuild myself from the ground up, without apology, without permission, and without the illusion that kindness is always harmless.